Jai Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe Jai Radha Madhav Jai Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe Jai Radha Jai Thoda Nitai Jai Mayapur Kali Jai Thoda Nitai Jai Mayapur Kali Jai Thoda Nitai Jai Mayapur Jai Prabhupada 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 Shila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Shila Prabhupada Shishi Korantai Mayapur Shiki Reading from the abridged version of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada rebuilt a house in which the whole world can live. Chapter is entitled Planting the Seed. One evening, Allen Ginsberg brought Ed Sanders and Julie Kupperberg of the Fugs to the meeting. The Fugs, a local group that had made a name for themselves, specialized in obscene lyrics. Among the popular songs of Ed Sanders were Slum Goddess of the Lower East Side, Group Grove, and I Can't Get High. Ed had a wild red hair and an electric red beard, and he played a guitar during the kirtan. The devotees were happy to see their prestigious guest. The night of the Fugs, however, Swamiji chose to speak on the illusion of sexual pleasure. Sex pleasure binds us to this material world, birth after birth. He said, and he quoted, as he often did, a verse of Yamunacharya. Since I have become Krishna conscious, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face at once turns the thought. The Fugs never returned. To speak ill of sexual pleasure was certainly not a strategic move for one who wanted to create followers among the Lower East Side hippies. But Bhaktivedanta Swami never considered changing his message. In fact, when Umapati had mentioned that Americans didn't like to hear that sex was only for conceiving children, Bhaktivedanta Swami had replied, I cannot change the philosophy to please the Americans. What about sex? Asked the ISKCON attorney, Steve Goldsmith, one evening, speaking out from the rear of the crowded temple. Sex should only be with one's wife, Swamiji said, and that is also restricted. Sex is for the propagation of Krishna conscious children. My spiritual master used to say that to beget Krishna conscious children, he was prepared to have sex 100 times. Of course, that is most difficult in this age. Therefore, he remained a brahmachari. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. There's something to be read from the Vaishnava. So today is the auspicious day of Snan Yatra. On this full moon day, 16 days before Rath Yatra, Lord Jagannath is bathed. The main deities, along with Sudarshan, are brought to the Snan Mandapa, a platform in front of the temple. Around midday, 108 quarts of water are poured on the deities from a sacred well. An emissary of the king of Orissa ceremonially sweeps the platform. Then elephant head masks are put out on the deities. This is their Ganesha Vesha. The deities are then offered cooked food and an aarti is performed. Then the deities go back in the temple in a procession and stay in seclusion. After the bathing ceremony, Lord Jagannath catches a cold and is confined to rest for 15 days. He suffers from fever and is offered an infusion of medications represented by fruit juice. The Daita servants take care of Lord Jagannath from the time of the Snan Yatra up to the time the Lord is carried from his throne to the Ratha cart. The body of Lord Jagannath, having been washed, needs repainting. This is done by the Daitas. It takes about 2 weeks to complete the repairs of Lord Jagannath's body. The renovation festival is also called Navayogana, which indicates that the Jagannath deity is being fully restored to you. At sunrise, 15 days after the bathing ceremony, the deities have recovered from their cold and are placed in front of the inner sanctum. They have been totally repainted, except their eyes. At this time, the eyes of the deities are painted by the respective priest, and the normal worship in the temple is resumed. Shishad Snan Yatra Mahamotsav ki Jai. So, reading about Shri Mukunda Datta. Shri Mukunda Datta was born in the Katak Mora. In the Gaudesha Dipika, it is stated, in Vraj, there were two very nice singers, Madhukantha and Madhuvrata. The Devadatha, who were singers in the society of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Lord Chaitanya was a student in the school of Gangadas Pandit, Chaitanya would fight with Mukunda Datta using tricks of logic. When Lord Chaitanya returned from Gaya, Mukunda Datta gave him pleasure by reciting verses from Srimad Bhagavatam about Krishna Lila. It was by his endeavor that Gadadhar Pandit Goswami became a disciple of Pundarika Vidyanidhi. When Mukunda Datta sang in the courtyard of Shiva's Thakur, Mahaprabhu danced with his singing. And when Lord Chaitanya for 21 hours exhibited an aesthetic manifestation known as Sata Prahariya, Mukunda Datta inaugurated the function by singing. When Lord Chaitanya dressed himself as the goddess of fortune to dance in the house of Chandrasekhara, Mukunda Datta began the first song. Sometimes Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised Mukunda Datta because he attended many functions held by different classes of non-devotees. Once in the house of Shivasa Pandit, Mahaprabhu blessed all the devotees except Mukunda. Lord Chaitanya overlooked him because he had offended Bhakti Devi by placing her on an equal level with Karma, Jnana, and even Mayavad philosophy. Acting like chameleon, Mukunda would glorify Bhakti to Bhaktas and then debate useless mundane topics with non-devotees. And with Mayavadis, he discussed impersonalism. Mukunda chose suicide as atonement for his serious offense to Bhakti Devi. He asked Lord Chaitanya if he would again receive his mercy in a future life. You will receive my mercy after passing 1 million births, said the Lord. Happy to know he would someday get Mahaprabhu's mercy, Mukunda jumped up and down shouting, "Only 1 million births! Only 1 million births!" Lord Chaitanya's heart melted upon seeing Mukunda's devotion and determination. The Lord blessed and accepted Mukunda. By your faith and conviction in my words, all your offenses have been immediately destroyed. Before disclosing his desire to take the renounced order of life, Lord Chaitanya first went to the house of Mukunda Datta. But at that time, Mukunda Datta requested the Lord to continue his Sankirtan movement for a few days more before taking sannyas. The information of Lord Chaitanya's accepting the renounced order of life was made known to Gadadhar Pandit, Chandrasekhara Acharya, and Mukunda Datta by Nityanand Prabhu. And therefore they all went to Katwa and arranged for Kirtan and all the paraphernalia for Lord Chaitanya's acceptance of sannyas. After the Lord took sannyas, they all followed him in acceptance of sannyas. In the place known as Jaleshwara, Nityanand Prabhu broke the sannyas rod of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mukunda Datta was also present at that time. He went every year from Bengal to see Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. Shri Vaishnava Acharya's ki Jai. Shri Sridhar Pandit. Sridhar was a poor Brahmana who made a living by selling banana tree bark to be made into cups. Most probably he had a banana tree garden and collected the leaves, skin and pulp of the banana trees to sell daily in the market. He spent 50% of his income to worship the Ganges and the balance he used for his subsistence. He would stay up at night chanting Hare Krishna. The neighbors thought that because of poverty he had hunger pains and couldn't sleep. The Lord played jokes on him on many occasions. Every day Sri Chaitanya jokingly snatched fruits, flowers and pulp from Sridhar and drank from his broken iron pot. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started his civil disobedience movement in defiance of the Qazi, Sridhara danced in jubilation. The Lord used to drink water from his water jug. Sridhar presented a squash to Srimati Sachidevi to cook it for Lord Chaitanya before the Lord took sannyas. Every year he went to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. Sridhar was a cowherd boy of Vrindavan whose name was Kusuma Sava. Sridhar Pandit Ki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Neshtiki. So, we continue our study of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 3, and today's text is 27. Te देव
Deva,
सिद्ध
Siddha,
परिगीत
Parigita,
पवित्र
Pavitra,
गाथा
Gatha,
ते देव सिद्ध परिगीत पवित्र गाथा
Deva, Siddha, Parigita, Pavitra, Gatha,
ये साधव
Sadhava,
समदृशो
Samadrisho,
भगवत
Bhagavat,
प्रपन्ना
Prapana,
ये साधव समदृशो भगवत प्रपन्ना
Sadhava, Samadrisho, Bhagavat, Prapana,
तान
Tan,
नोपशिदित
Upasita,
हरे
Hare,
गदया भीकुक्तान
Gadaya, Vittan,
तानोपसीदत हरे गदया विगुप्तान
Tando, Vasita, Hare, Gadaya, Vittan,
नेषां
Vaisham,
वयं
Ayam,
न च वय प्रभवाम
Prabhavama,
दण्डे
Dande,
नेषां वयं न च वय प्रभवाम दण्डे
Vaisham, Vayam, Nachaya, Prabhavama, Dande,
ते देव सिद्ध परिगीत पवित्र गाथा
Deva, Siddha, Parigita, Pavitra, Gatha,
ये साधव समदृशो भगवत प्रपन्ना
Ye Sadhava, Samadhisho, Bhagavat, Prapana,
तानोपसीदत हरेर्गदया विगुप्तान्
Tando, Vasita, Hare, Gadaya, Vittan,
येषां वयं न च वय प्रभवं दण्डे
Vaisham, Vayam, Nachaya, Prabhavama, Dande,
ते सिद्ध परिगीत पवित्र गाथा ते देव ये साधव समदृशो भगवत प्रपन्ना तन्नोपसीदत हरेर्गदया विगुप्तान् येषां वयं न च वय प्रभवाम दण्डे ते देव सिद्ध परिगीत पवित्र गाथा ये साधव समदृशो भगवत प्रपन्ना तानोपसीदत हरेर्गदया विगुप्तान् येषां वयं न च वय प्रभवाम दण्डे
Siddha Parigita Pavitra Gatha
ते देव सिद्ध परिगीत पवित्र गाथा ये साधव समदृशो भगवत प्रपन्ना तानोपसीदत हरे गदया विगुप्तान् येषां वयं न च वय प्रभवाम दण्डे ते देव by the demigods, Siddha and the inhabitants of Siddha Loka, Parigita, Sun, Pavitra Gatha, whose pure narrations, Ye, who, Sadhava, devotees, Samadrisha, one who see everyone equally, Bhagavad Prapanna, being surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ana, Then, na, not. Upasidata should go near. Hare of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gadaya by club. Abhiguptan being fully protected. Na, not. Esha of these. Mayam we. Na, nature and also not.
And also not.
Vaya unlimited time. Prabhava Vama are competent. Kande in punishing. Translation interpreted by Divine Graces Prabhupada. My dear servants, please do not approach such devotees, for they have fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are equal to everyone, and their narrations are sung by the demigods and the inhabitants of Siddhaloka. Please do not even go near them. They are always protected by the club of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore Lord Brahma and I, and even the time factor are not competent to chastise them. Purport. In effect, Yamraj warned his servants, my dear servants, despite what you may have done previously to disturb the devotees, henceforward you should stop. The actions of devotees who have surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord and who constantly chant the holy name of the Lord are praised by the demigods and the residents of Siddhaloka. Those devotees are so respectable and exalted that Lord Vishnu personally protects them with the club in his hand. Therefore, regardless of what you have done this time, henceforward you should not approach such devotees. Otherwise, you will be killed by the club of Lord Vishnu. This is my warning. Lord Vishnu has a club and a chakra to punish non-devotees. Do not risk punishment by attempting to disturb the devotees. Not to speak of you, if even Lord Brahma or I were to punish them, Lord Vishnu would punish us. Therefore, do not disturb the devotees any further. Vairagya Vidya Nidhi Bhakti Yoga Shikshanamita Kurucha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari Kripa Buddhiya Tamaha Prapatye Karoti Vachalam Papunagete Giriya Kripa Tamam Shri Guru Kalpataruvyasya Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I mean, it is a very awkward position actually. Not to be in the temple, but to be asked to actually give class. It's quite awkward to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam for that matter, but it is your kindness, so kindly bless me and kindly tolerate this. So here, the Yamadutas, the messengers of the Lord of Death, they approach the Lord of Death, Yamaraj, and they approach with a petition. And they go with this, not online petition, personal petition. They go to Yamaraj and possibly we get signatures from all the Yamadutas. You sign for us, you sign up for this, you sign up for this. Is this the Lord we are serving? So we go with this petition to Yamaraj. They were very confused that the Yamdutas, they do not say anything of the Vishnu Dutas. They are effulgent, so peaceful, so beautiful looking, and they had such strength, power, capacity. But at the same time, they baffled, bewildered of them, so put us down. We were never stopped in our work, so when they went with this petition to Yamraj that what is going on here, and give us justice. We want justice. Give us, you raise us. Give us something. We feel like cheated or rejected. We feel rejected, dejected. But here, even Yamraj also turns the tables in purple. It says that. Therefore, regardless of what you have done this time, henceforward you should not approach us as devotees. Otherwise, you will be killed by the by the club of Lord Krishna. So, they went forward to sign a petition from Yamaraj, but here the answers are being warned by the Yamaraj. That they are being warned by the Yamaraj that be careful. You should not hover around. You should not hover around where there are devotees, where devotional service is going on, where the singing or chanting is going on. Then I would do not expect any shelter or protection. Meant for that. So, this is Yamraj. He is warning his subordinates, all the Yamdutas and all, that do not dare to go anywhere near a temple or wherever there is the chanting of Hare Krishna going on or where there is devotional services performed. Stay away. You should not go in that jurisdiction that is beyond your area. No. And likewise, Lord Brahma and the Siddha Lokas also, inhabitants of the Siddha Lokas, Brahma Loka, Chandra Loka, Tapa Loka, each Loka, Swarg Loka, they all glorify the glories of one practicing devotional service. So many places we see in Srimad Bhagavatam where the value of this human form of life is so much glorified. And glorified by whom? By the residents of Swarg Loka, by the residents of Brahman Loka, Tapa Loka, Jana Loka, higher residents of even Yama Loka, glorify this value of this human form of life because in this human form of life, to get into loving devotional service, knowledge, acquired appropriate knowledge can be gained. And renunciation. Renunciation can be developed. Cannot be developed in heavenly planets. And that renunciation cannot be developed in even higher planetary systems. And knowledge cannot be developed in the lower planetary systems. And this knowledge is transcendental knowledge. Unlike somewhat spiritual knowledge, that oh, you are not this body, you are a spirit soul, there's life after death, there's reincarnation, there's law of karma. That sort of knowledge is okay, Vedic knowledge, very sattvic knowledge, the mode of goodness. Having known that you are not this body, you are a spirit soul, it's not like attained a gold medal. That's okay, that's a knowledge in the mode of goodness. Transcendental knowledge is knowing and living actually by this principle that I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. Mahaprabhu gives us this highest transcendental knowledge to aspire to become a Dasa Dasanandasa. to become a lover of someone who is completely in love with Krishna. The translation reads throughout Bhagavatam, we see all the translations, we would find a glorification going on, either glorifying Bhakti Devi, glorifying Krishna, glorifying pure devotees, glorifying pure devotional service. And the minimum standard, this is the minimum to come to understand bhakti, to practice loving pure devotional service, is first of all come to a stage of being equal to everyone. As in, we understand yoga, essentially yoga means bhakti yoga only. Essentially yoga means pure love for Krishna. Yoga means what? To connect, union and all that. Union connection can be only pure love. Or actually love is something which is pure only. Love is something which is unconditional. Because this is a world of the variegatedness or perverted variegatedness, a world of the three modes of material nature. So find yoga, there's jnana yoga, there's dhyana yoga, there's ashtanga yoga, there's karma yoga, hatha yoga, sankhya yoga, and bhakti yoga. But the real meaning of yoga is to love and serve Krishna unconditionally. In order to come to a position of yoga, first the mind and senses have to be controlled. The mind and senses have to be properly controlled. Then one can actually enter into a phase of loving emotional service. And this quality has to be developed equal to everyone. Equal to everyone. These are the saintly qualities. This is a saintly quality, a holy, noble, a spiritual quality, which has to be developed equal to everyone. What sort of, if someone is aspiring to become a saint or holy person, a sadhu, a monk, and all, then yoga means that the person shouldn't get agitated easily. The person shouldn't really get upset or frustrated easily. If we are getting agitated or frustrated easily, if we are getting upset easily, oh, I was asked to do this service, I wasn't asked to do this service, I wasn't given this opportunity. So many such things and all. But if we get agitated, frustrated, or annoyed easily, or if we easily get puffed up as well, then we need to see, are we being equal to ourselves or not? If we cannot be equal to everyone, then how do we show our respect to Krishna? How do we show our love for Krishna? What do they say? A dog is not a dog for a Christmas. Something like that. A pet is not a pet for a Christmas. A pet is a pet, or a dog is a dog for the whole life. Something like that. But a turkey is turkey for Christmas, or a lamb. I mean, if we love Krishna, then we should love Krishna's creation. Throughout. We should love animals, we should love plants, trees, we should be equal to everyone, treat them fairly. And again, being equal to everyone doesn't mean that we go and embrace a tiger or embrace a lion or a snake. No. And in behavior, we should be dealing accordingly, but within our heart there should not be any animosity, any this ranking, inferiority, superiority complex. That mood should not be there. These are all stains in our practice of Krishna consciousness. So, saintly person is one who is always compassionate, who is giving, who is looking for everyone's welfare. And welfare are at different stages. Welfare is at the stage of body, at the level of body, at the level of mind, intelligence, the level of ego, emotions, sentiments, different levels. And then there is the highest welfare, the level of soul. The level of soul. How many institutions or organizations or individuals are there who are actually dedicated to do this welfare at the level of soul? Very few. Very few. So we all have an opportunity to join this very pure league, the league of devotees. Bring about the change, be the change. So many places in Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, we understand, we see this of fair treatment and being equal to everyone. Why being equal to everyone? Because Krishna is in the center of everyone's life. He's the soul of the soul, Paramatma. He's the soul of everyone's soul. So Krishna is equal to everyone. Everyone belongs to Krishna. So yes, I should be seeing everyone equally in that vision. And at the same time, in behavior, because this is the behavioral world, the behavior would be different. How I deal with my friends at work, how I deal with my say other peers and all, the behavior would be different. But in my consciousness, I shouldn't be encouraging any of this ranking, judging, or the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness is what? It's very nicely summed up by Vaishnavas, by Acharyas. Name Ruchi. Name Ruchi, Vaishnav Seva, Jiva Daya. See how beautifully it says actually. Name Ruchi, developing taste in the holy name of the Lord, in chanting the holy name of the Lord, in loving devotional service. Vaishnava Seva, so service to the Vaishnavas. Service is done to someone elevated personalities, Vaishnava Seva, and Jiva Daya, to have compassion, to show compassion to all living entities. If we cannot show compassion to all living entities, then where is that preaching move? Where is that preaching? Preaching means having that compassion upon every living entity. Because every living entity potentially is a pure devotee of Krishna. Every living entity, and every living entity should be given that opportunity to fructify his Krishna consciousness in this very lifetime itself. We sing Trinadapi Sudichena Tarorapi Sahishuna Manina Mandina Kirtanya Sada. That one should not. Four things only Mahaprabhu is asking, or actually rather on our part Mahaprabhu is saying that is only to give respect to others. Give respect to others. Now, we naturally give respect to someone, to some persons and all. Why? Because we find some goodness in them, we see some good qualities in them. we see that yes, they are elevated, it deserves this respect, and it comes naturally. Now, how do we naturally come to a position wherein we can respect everyone? When we start seeing that yes, everyone is Krishna's, they also belong to Krishna, they are equally dear to Krishna as I am. Then when we see everyone with that vision and that yes, Krishna man, that this world is Krishna man only, then wherever we go, we will have the remembrance of Krishna. And everyone is there to teach us, facilitate us, help us become a devotee of Krishna. And the basic fundamental minimum is actually to be equal to everyone. So we have to come to this stage actually rather sooner than later. Do not get easily annoyed, agitated, or easily get carried away or feeling very tired or puffed up. No. This is real tolerance, developing this level of tolerance. Then humility will come about. Humility will come about, and we have to pray for the real mercy of Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, life is too short and we have a very long, long way to go. How can we afford to allow ourselves to get distracted or sidetracked, especially when we have come after we come after the association of devotees by the causeless mercy of pure devotees, by the causeless mercy of Prabhupada. We will take a pause here if there are any questions, thoughts, or comments. Or,
Thank you, Lord. Very nice talk. I wish what you mentioned in terms of seeing everyone equally, due to the Paramatma being situated within everyone. I just wonder if you could clarify, because I always sort of struggle with this idea of the Paramatma and super soul. What does it actually mean? And you said the soul of the soul. Can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit? Because we hear the analogy of the two branches in the tree, and it's sort of two different entities. But when you're saying soul of the soul, it seems like something in Paramatma is within you. I'm just a little confused. If you could clarify. Thank you.
so, what is that? What we confused? Huh? Thank you for the question. Very nice question. So, yeah. See, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says 15.6. Another very popular shloka, another Bhasyate Sugyo, that's Santona Pamaka. Yeah, that's why we were thinking that Dhamma Paramam Mama. Paramam, we see Param means like great or super or superlative or high or every nook and corner is Krishna's Dhamma. But that Dhamma is Paramam. There's something, there is something special. So Paramatma, na? Param great source. Atma in itself is very powerful and potential, but why only because of Krishna only? Otherwise, the soul, like, it is because of Krishna that everything is going and moving about and everything. So, Atma of the Atma, what is it that makes the Atma so? What is it that makes us so glorious or beautiful? When we actually understand that we are Krishna's, that thing, and when we realize that we are Krishna's, then we will find our true worth, our true potential. Also in other places, also in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna in 10th chapter, especially the soul of the soul, Atma, the soul of the soul. Now, see, Krishna is is completely inconceivable by logic or this material understanding. But having said that, this doesn't mean that we do not apply our logic. We should apply as much as our logic to help us, the subject matter, go into the heart, to help us protect our faith or build up our faith. when we come into devotional service, it is heavily through our logic and applying some intelligence, seeing, checking devotees out and all, then okay, yes, these are genuine people and this is a genuine process and all. Then the heart, we get the confirmation or we tell the heart, yes, mind is settled now, or logic or intellect is settled now. Now practice with heart. But Krishna is something Vedeshu adurlabham. Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakti. So through the science of logic, Krishna is impossible to be captured through logic. But adurlabham is very easily captured by pure loving devotional service. And in Brahma Samhita also, Brahmaji, we see his revelation where he tells that uh, the egg, the universe is like an egg, and from each pore of Mahavishnu, each universe is coming. So if we just see this logic, I mean, through logic, we can never understand that this universe is coming out of Krishna, and then he also is going in each and every atom as well. So it's like uh, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. He's smaller than the smallest, and at the same time, bigger than the biggest. How does it fit in someone smaller than the smallest and at the same time simultaneously is bigger than the biggest? So it is Krishna only who can do this. None other than Krishna. And in order to understand this, this is why we have to pray for the appearance of a pure devotee in our life. Only when pure devotees appear in our life through their blessings only, the message of scriptures or everything will be revealed and come about. Then we can engage in loving pure devotional service. So materially, one cannot uh, make as such understand that okay, how is Krishna the soul of the soul? But he's the soul of the soul as in we are so much controlled by Krishna. You're not fully independent. So he's the soul of the soul as well. Soul may think or decide, but we are not very independent. We are completely controlled. Completely controlled. So that analogy as well, like in a tree, two birds, small bird and a big bird. So the small bird is who is that small bird? It is us only. The big bird is Krishna. Here we see that from that analogy. Now, have we ever seen actually a small bird to be silent, to be calm and peaceful, and or a big bird as well for that matter, say, to be silent, calm, or peaceful, stable, quiet? Generally speaking, when we see birds like in Kamala, we see so many birds and chirping, the birds are moving about. Then rarely we see them like this silent, calm, and still, and quiet. But when we actually observe ourselves, we will find that we are more fickle than bird. We are more agitated than bird. We are more unquiet than actually a bird is. And bird like is looking for grains and all. What we are constant, how many thoughts come in our mind on a daily basis? We cannot comprehend. We cannot really count as well. So, how Krishna is soul of the soul is, it is beyond us as well. We may plan something, we may decide something and all, but we may not be able to do it until and unless Krishna allows us to, until and unless Krishna blesses us, until and unless Paramatma blesses us. Mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Every verse in Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita is to relieve us from pressure. Krishna says like, I mean, we should laugh at ourselves or maybe Krishna would be laughing at us to say, oh, look at him. He thinks he knows. He thinks he has good memory and all. Everything. So Krishna is the soul of the soul. He lets us remember. He lets us forget. He lets us have that knowledge. He's the ultimate supreme controller. And everything he does it for our benefit, for our real good, ultimate good. through some like mundane logic and all, Krishna can never be understood or how is the soul of the soul. But when we fall in love with Krishna, then we will realize that yes, Krishna, I'm a part of your existence. I share an eternal bond with you. In never a separation. You are the ultimate cause of my existence. So yes, Krishna, you are the soul of my soul. Soul of the soul, also like the saturation for soul, the saturation for Atma is in pure love for Krishna. Few days back there was Nirjala Ekadashi, right? Some devotees, many devotees in Corona world, many devotees worldwide did Nirjala fasting. So they even take water and then chanted many rounds of throughout the day they engaged in loving devotional service. Just on a side point, see if we had to do this Nirjala Ekadashi or a day of leave Nirjala, if we had to dare a day of fasting without water, say, and there was no engagement in devotional service, like no reading, hearing, chanting, or doing services. The day would be becoming very long day and very tough. There are some person, people in India, and some traditions where there is fasting day, but on the day there's nothing to engage in loving devotional service. So how to spend the whole day? Or like watch some Netflix, TV, play cards, or evening time now. Let's go 6 to 9 a movie and then maybe we'll go to bed. But for devotees, Nirjala Ekadasi is such an auspicious welcoming day that for the sustenance of this body, water is required. But for the sustenance of Atma, love for Krishna is required. So in that sense, Krishna is the Atma of the Atma, the soul of the soul. Because the soul cannot function without love. And who is the source of that love? Krishna is the source of that love. Krishna is the provider of that love. Krishna is the provider of everything. So our existence is nothing if we are not in relationship with Krishna. That is why that is matter, which is anything is not in relationship with Krishna. And if we are spiritual means what that yes, we are in tune with Krishna, in love with Krishna, if that's someone else's. Okay. Thank you very much for your patient listening and encouragement. Mantra Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuran ki Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Gaur Premanandi.
Jai.